Judge Mathis, and you're watching StreetGangs.com.
We are at the Fatherhood Solution Conference at the University of Southern California, where Judge Greg Mathis will be the keynote speaker. He's going to be speaking on the importance of fathers in the lives of their children, and he's also going to be speaking about his personal past troubles he had as a juvenile and young adult, and the challenges he had becoming a lawyer and eventually becoming a judge in the state of Michigan. He has a book out called Street Judge, and we're going to see if we can get an interview with Judge Mathis.
In fact, everyone covets their success and their resources. Who among you even gives the 10% that they suggest God requires, that is suggested and I believe that God requires? You won't even give back to God. Won't even give to God. Won't even give to your local community. And so what makes you think those who won't give to God, won't give to the local community, is going to open up the door for you?
Well, I don't think he was talking down. I think he was trying to lift up. You know, the fact is that many of the problems in the black community stem from fatherless homes. 85% of those in prison, the men, come from fatherless homes. So there's a clear connection. But beyond blaming the brothers who are unable to or who are unwilling to stay with their children or to raise their young men in particular in the proper way, we have to put it in context of some of the causes. And I attribute them to economic deprivation, which typically is a result of poverty. Poverty is, in many ways, a result of failed education systems. So you have to do both. You have to not talk down at all, but you have to talk straight and direct and tough, because that's what the streets are like. But at the same time, you have to try and uplift. And so I try to form that balance, and I think our president does as well.
Now, you speak a lot about your juvenile past and the brief adult past in terms of getting involved with the law. Can you give us some details of what were some of the things you actually got arrested for and you had to serve time for?
Yeah. Well, you have to read my book. No, I'm just kidding. It occurred to me just now, should I tell him? But then I said, well, it's in the book. Purse snatching, armed robbery, breaking and entering, drugs and guns.
Now, when someone sees that a guy that was involved in that became so successful, do you think some kids are saying, well, hey, you know, I'm in the streets, I'm getting in trouble. You know, at some point, maybe I'll turn my life around. Not right now.
Yeah, I think that's a common belief, and unfortunately, a lot of them don't make it to turn their lives around. Either they lose their lives or they turn their lives over to the prison industrial complex. So I would ask them to do as they do in church, and the immediate conversion. But no, I know that there's a transformation process. Took me a couple of years. Even after leaving the streets, when I went to college, I wasn't a saint for my first couple of years, but I was able to transition into a productive lifestyle. So it take a minute, but you have to give yourself that minute.
Now, as a judge, have you ever been handcuffed with sentencing guidelines where you had to deliver a sentence that you may not have been comfortable with?
As a judge on the bench, we did not have mandatory sentencing in Detroit during the time I sat. On the other hand, there were guidelines, and I would typically sentence within the guidelines, whether it's 1 to 5 or 5 to 10. I would make my sentence based on the belief I had in the transformation or rehabilitation of the person. If I thought they were ready to get off the street, I might give them the minimal. If I thought they were halfway ready, I might give them halfway. If I thought that they're never going to be ready, they get the max.
Were you ever faced with sentencing someone that you knew as a juvenile, that you knew as a youth, that's now in your court as an adult?
Yeah, I had many come before me, very, very many. And I had to recuse myself each time and have them go to another judge.
Okay, my last question is, in 2005, Tookie was executed. I covered the funeral. I saw you at the funeral, and I was surprised that there was a lot of celebrity turnout. What was your whole reaction to his execution, and what made you come out to his funeral?
Because I thought he had rehabilitated himself, and that is the goal of incarceration, is both to deter crime, to punish, and to rehabilitate. And so I believe that he had rehabilitated himself. I believe he helped to deter crime as an example of rehabilitation, and therefore I thought he had also served his punishment as well and should not have to sacrifice his life. I thought he was an example for others on how to transform themselves. And so we need those examples to stay alive. Otherwise, we're killing the spirit of those who would otherwise aspire to transformation.